This is Season 7 of the Team Roping Journal's podcast, The Score, the show that started it all in the whole podcasting game in team roping and rodeo. At 3 million downloads and counting, this is where team ropers talk, from our weekly short score episodes to the longer sit-down conversations that we get to have that dive deep into the personalities, producers, and horses that inspire the sport. This is where team ropers get their must-know information. Hey everyone, it's Chelsea Schaefer. I'm sorry I'm just coming back to you all with this episode. I owe it to you. This is an episode on who should be the heel horse of the year. Today we talk to guys like Logan Medlin, we talk to Jake Long, Paul Eaves, Levi Lord, and Wesley Thorp about who they think should be the heel horse of the year. The voting is getting ready to kick off, and we'll know just in a few short days who is the AQHA PRCA Heel Horse of the Year. But first, I wanted to bring you this little preview of this discussion. The guys tell us what they're voting for, why they're voting for these guys, why they're voting for their horses, and what their metrics are for what creates the Heel Horse of the Year. Thanks for listening. All right, the first heeler we talked to is Logan Medlin. I am calling everybody to see who they think should be horse of the year. So, who do you think should be heel horse of the year?
I think Turbo's been very good. He's been rode by a couple people, by Thorp, has rode him a lot this year. I tell you, the horse I really, really like is Dylan Graham's Bay. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think that's a great horse.
Do they call that one Cruise? Is that the one?
I don't know what his name is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay.
But he's a good horse. I don't know if fly under the radar or not, but I do think that's a very good horse. But I mean, obviously, Turbo's been very good. I mean, he's been good for two guys probably to make the finals on him this year, so that says a lot. But I do think the Bay of Dylan Graham's is, in my opinion, one of the best horses out here.
Okay. And now I know you're not the guy that's going to say your own horse, but what has the split been between Cantina and Drago this year?
Well, Drago's been really sore since about the 1st of August. I haven't got to ride Drago since, I don't know, middle of July. I've probably rode Cantina out of 80 rodeos. I bet I'll ride him at 65 of them probably.
Mm-hmm.
Probably something like that, 60, 65 of them. I rode the gray over the 4th. I have a gray that I sent with Drago, and Drago was fine, but if it was muddy or something, I would kind of ride the gray instead of Drago. And so he's actually probably been rode more than Drago has.
Oh, okay.
Drago's been hauled around as moral sports about all he's been. He hasn't been used much.
So he's out there still with you?
He's out there, yeah. He's been sound. He's been sound all summer. And, it's just been one of them deals. He's been sore ever since. I hadn't got to ride him since then. He's getting around better now, but I still can't ride him. So.
Gotcha. Well, Cantina's been a trooper. Yeah. And Cantina was Cantina second last year?
Third.
Gotcha.
Third, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All righty. Yeah. Well, that is what I needed, sir. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Now, Jake Long has had his share of Horses of the Year with his Great Horse Colonel, and so I wanted to get his opinion on who deserves Horse of the Year. Well, I'm working on my Horse of the Year podcast that I do when I ask you guys who you think's horses were the best. So, who do you think, whose heel horse stood out that deserves to be in the running for Horse of the Year? You're allowed to say your own. This is not a trick.
This is not a trick. Well, I do feel like Roger's done a good job as far as, I've rode him probably 90% of the time. But I always feel weird trying to push my own horse. But I think, I guess usual suspects again. You got Patrick's horse. I think he ain't lost nothing. He's still really good, and Thorp's even been riding him some. And he's done good for that whole group. And then I kind of like the new horse that Johnny's been riding, that he bought from Caleb Green. I think that horse is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think. I mean, those two are probably the ones that stick out to me the most right off the top of my head. I mean, it's hard not to say Timon on Junior, but then, I don't know that he rides him enough to fully justify him anymore. But I mean, obviously he's a great horse and everything that they do. And then, so I guess those would be the horses that stick out to me. And then, like you said, I am partial to my own. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but he makes my job pretty dang easy. So,
are you going to nominate him?
I probably will. I don't know. I don't know if everybody else thinks he's as good as I do, so I don't know if it's a waste of time or not, but I might put his name in there.
You've won that award a few times before, though. I feel like people do respect what you ride. Colonel was decent.
Yeah, Colonel was he was a special animal. Roger's really easy, but he's not as flashy as a lot of the horses are, and I think that's what gets him as far as. I think if people were to ride him, they would appreciate him more. He doesn't stick out as much just watching him, but he's dang sure as easy as anything as I've ever really rode, truthfully. So
that's awesome.
I think if people were to get on him, they would understand him a lot more. But he doesn't have a big show horse slide and stuff like that. So I think that's what hurts him a little bit as far as eye appeal. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I appreciate it, Jake.
Yes, ma'am. Anytime.
For as many times as Paul Eaves has had amazing horses, he's got 2 world titles, he's yet to win the Horse of the Year award. But I did want his take on that. So here's Paul Eaves. What horse do you think should be in contention for Heel Horse of the Year? Ready, go.
Patrick's.
Why do you think his horse should be in for Horse of the Year?
He's just the best one. He don't really mess up. Does everything good. Fast and good in every setup, and he's definitely the best one.
Have you ridden him before?
Nope, I've never rode him. I'd like to. But I never have.
I gotcha. What's your split been this year on Apollo and Kid Rock? Has it been 50-50 or?
I don't know. Probably close, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I rode Apollo through the winter, and then the Rome, some right there. Yeah, I would say pretty close to 50-50.
Do you think a Horse of the Year should be one that's ridden everywhere? Like, how much weight do you put on the full-time riding of a horse to be Horse of the Year?
Probably not as much as some guys. I know guys really do for some reason, but I don't really necessarily think it's that big of a deal. I mean, if they ride them at 3 places, no, probably not. But I guess if they're good enough to be put up for contention for that, then they should be always good. So the only reason why they wouldn't be rode is because of soundness or something like that. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's the other deal. The other flip side of it is if the horse is good, they're going to ride him everywhere. You know what I mean? Or more than likely. So no, I don't think it's necessarily like it's got to be like Levi Lord where he rode that one horse at all but 2 rodeos. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's necessarily got to be like that, but I think they got to be rode enough to where but I don't think it's a huge deal.
I gotcha. Today's episode of The Score is brought to you by Horse Week. Celebrate the splendor of horses during Horse Week. Join us for the ultimate equine celebration during the Horse Week Film Festival, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, October 20th to the 26th, 2024. This extraordinary event unites horse enthusiasts from around the globe in a free week-long online film festival dedicated to the awe-inspiring world of horses. Sign up for our free newsletter to stay in the know and tune in live October 20th to the 26th at horseweek.tv. World standings leader Levi Lord has been basically on his main horse Birdie all year long, and so I definitely thought it was worth calling Levi to see who he wanted to vote for Horse of the Year. Well, tell me, what horse do you think should be Horse of the Year, and why?
Oh, I think it would probably be hard for Patrick's not to win again. I think it's kind of a general consensus that horse has been about as good as it gets for the last 2 or 3 years, and then this year, just the way it's worked out with those guys not kind of being at the top for a while, and then they just went on a huge run at the same time when T-Wade and Thorp went on the run, and Thorp was also riding the horse. So
yeah,
he really had a good year. He's had a great year the last 2 years, and then this year, as far as the horse goes, has probably been his best year just because he got almost double the runs for the most busy time of the year also, and was winning consistently with both of them.
What does he do well? What do you think Turbo does? I mean, obviously he's a great horse, and it's been consistent for the last couple of years, but like, what do you like about him, or what do you think he makes it easy on Patrick doing?
I really like him personally too, just because he's the type of horse I like. He's a little bit smaller made. I think he can really run. I rode him one time. I didn't get a turn in, but you can just feel how fast-footed he is and how much he can run, and he just really never messes up. He's real cowy. He gives those guys the same look every time, and I just haven't hardly seen that horse in 3 years screw up. I mean, maybe one time. So it's just pretty awesome for that horse to be so consistent. And the other thing that I think, in my opinion, makes Horse of the Year is how much they get rode. You know, if a horse only goes to 30 out of 80 rodeos, it doesn't really matter how good they are. I don't really think they deserve to win it. And that horse goes to 80 with Patrick, and then, like I just said, this year he probably went to another 30 with Wesley. So definitely has taken probably the most runs out of any horse and has worked great. So that horse would probably be definitely at the top of most people's list, I would say, as long as they're not being biased. If they give you the real answer, I would say it's hard to put that one not at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some other horses too, but I think that one is probably the favorite to win it anyways.
How many rodeos have you ridden Birdie at?
I've rode him at, I'll end up riding him at 77 of the 80. And I did that purposely also. Like, that's another horse I don't like to talk about a ton, but I think it would be hard to have a conversation without him, just because how much we've won, and then I've rode him, same deal. I rode the other horse at Guyman, and I rode him one time in the mud at Parker, Texas, and then I rode him in the short round at Greeley. And other than that, I've rode Birdie on every steer, and obviously have had a pretty good year. So he's also, I would say, up there as far as getting the runs that it takes for one to win Horse of the Year, and then the winnings obviously reflects most of the time how good your horse is, and he's been pretty good for us this year also.
What does he do well? I mean, he lets you throw very, very fast, but like,
yep.
In every other scenario, what does he do for you?
He's similar to Patrick's horse, not really in the way they work, but just in the way that they just don't really ever mess up. They're not ever going to run by her. They're not ever going to, not be on your team. They're gonna get you to the same spot and let you win no matter the setup. You know, he can't run quite as fast probably as Patrick's horse. That if there is a hole in him, that would probably be it. But he can run fast enough to rodeo on. I've maybe same deal. I've run him for the last 2 years, and I can definitely count on one hand where I think he's messed up. You know, so that's 2 seasons worth of 2 pretty good seasons worth of mostly riding him and him not costing me any money. So
sure.
He gets to a good spot. It's easy to rope on, really, really fast-footed and small, so he's easy to ride, and then he finishes really good. Whenever you die, he doesn't give any back to the steer, so that's why we can get a good finish and be fast sometimes, you know.
And did you go out on a limb when you bought him, as far as that horse was not... I'm trying to remember the story about buying him.
Yeah, I bought him from Jake Miner. He was rodeoing on him in 22, and I was talking to him at Pendleton, just not even really... Man, it was one of my favorite horses just because of, like, the type of horse I like, you know, small and fast-footed. And so I was just kind of talking to him, not really with any intention of honestly buying him. And he's like, yeah, man, I think he was maybe thinking about slowing down, not rodeoing the next year. I don't think he didn't make the finals, so he was not really needing him. So I was like, well, just let me know if you want to do something on him. And when I got home, he texted me, said he would sell him for what he got in him. And I had never even dreamt of paying that much for a horse or even thought I ever would. But I got home and sold a couple others and kind of needed one. I was headed to the NFR for the first time in Vegas with Eaves, and then was planning on Ripple and Dustin the next winter, so I knew I needed a good horse. So it seemed like a good time to buy him, and I just sent him the money. Yeah, I kind of took a little chance, didn't ever ride him, and just shipped him from up there in Idaho right to my house in like October or something, and then run the first steers on him just once I had our money. I mean, I think it worked out, because I think if I would have tried him for that much money, I honestly didn't just love. I mean, I liked him, but I didn't just love him. So I don't know if I would have made myself write the check that much money.
Yeah.
Where I already owned. When I already owned him, I didn't really have a choice. So, and then it obviously got better, and he's been pretty valuable here for the last couple of years.
That's funny. Yeah, I thought I remembered you having to take a pretty big bite when you bought him, and it being kind of a stretch for you. So.
Yeah, it was. Oh, aside from Patrick's and mine, which I think every healer will list Patrick, and then my own, I'm obviously a little bit biased to it. There's a couple others that come to mind that just, I think, deserve to be on there just because of, like I talked about, they go to every rodeo, and probably 90% of the guys' runs are on on one horse, you know. Mm-hmm. Brady Miner's back up in there, and he, no matter where you see him, I don't think I've ever seen him run and steer on anything other than Shug for the last 4 or 5 years. And especially at his age now, that just speaks to how good that horse is and has been so good for so long. You know, he's probably rode him. I'm going to say he's going to ride him at every rodeo this year, and hopefully they get in the finals, you know. So you can't do that without a pretty nice horse, especially when he takes that many runs.
Yeah, I saw that horse in Arizona at the Royal Crown Futurity. Like, they had a jackpot afterwards, and he took so many runs. I couldn't believe, and he had just come from a rodeo. He's like he's a war horse for sure.
Yeah, and he's been doing it for as long as I can remember. You know, as long as I think Brady bought him in late 2018, 17, whatever.
I think it was 17 because I think they were on the
Yeah.
cover for winning the American when we were still Spin to Win. Before we
Yeah.
were the Team Roping Journal, we were Spin to Win, and I put Riley on the cover winning the American, and that was right when he like tried Shug. I don't know, weird horse memories that are in my brain, but yeah, 2017, I think.
Yeah, so that's going on 7 years of, I'm going to say he's rode that horse at dang near every rodeo and made the finals on him however many times, and then if he doesn't make the finals, usually somebody rides him. So
Yeah.
that horse is pretty awesome for a long time. And then another one that comes to mind, kind of a new one, is Colby Payne rides his horse.
What horse is that he rides everywhere? Do you know what they call him or what it is?
I don't know. I know he bought him from Rich Skelton. And ever since he bought him, he rides him at most of the rodeos and dang near all the big jackpots, and obviously have had pretty good success. So I think a horse like that, and then Logan also rides that bay on most of his runs. So to me, any horse there's some other great horses, like Paul's got 2 great horses, but he rides them kind of equally as much. So I think, not that one horse is better than any of the next ones, but as far as horse of the year goes, to me, a horse that goes to dang near 80 rodeos and gets a guy to the finals and is kind of their main horse, is pretty deserving of winning it. Not that they're any better or worse than a horse that maybe only is, but if you're talking about a Horse of the Year award, it would go to those that go to 90% of the radios.
Yeah, and I mean everybody's voted for Brady's horse before. He's obviously won it before, and Brady's had multiple. He's had, I think, 3 horses of the year, so nobody would ever question if Brady wins it on Suge, because that horse is a legend. Like, he's...
Yeah.
But I think you're right on all of it. I think, and Paul didn't even say his horses, because he said he rode them pretty 50-50 between Apollo and... Yeah, like last year, after the end of last year, I thought Apollo would win it for sure this year, because people said, like, if Paul stays on that horse, he'll win it for sure. But Paul split his time pretty much.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he rode the Roan. Probably, he may have even rode the Roan more than Apollo. So,
yeah,
not that Apollo's a great horse, obviously, but there's 5 other horses that got guys to the finals that took double the runs. So, to me, those horses probably deserve to be up there a little bit more, whether they're better horse, worse horse, whatever,
When I was doing the header side, I called your partner and asked him all of this, and I asked him if he had to get on one at Sioux Falls to make it to the finals to save his season in a terrible scenario that's not real. Who else's horse would he get on? If you had to run one in the 10th round to win a world title and you couldn't ride Birdie, whose horse would you get on?
I'd get on Patrick's.
You would?
Yeah, I'd get on Patrick's and then probably followed by Suge, just because Patrick's, I think, has been, like a couple minutes. I think he's been the best horse. And if any healer gives an unbiased answer, I think that would be the answer.
Yeah.
The horse doesn't mess up, and he can't really do anything bad. And then Suge's been there 10 times, and he's probably not gonna mess up. He's been there with Brady a lot of times, and then Peyton rode him, and even Travis Woodard rode him right back when. So he's been there a lot of times. What horse did Dustin say? Yeah, I bet he said similar. Like that. Even his horse, Cajun, is an amazing horse, but he didn't. I hope he places or whatever. But he's also only rode him at probably half the radios, so it's understandable if a horse like Melly's or whatever, whoever else the headers are that have rode their horse all year, plays over one like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he said the same thing for sure, that he's putting his horse in and he thinks his horse is great, but T-Wade's would be an obvious choice for a lot of people and should be.
And that goes like Thorp and Patrick rode the Dun, and now Tanner and T-Wade have been riding the Bay. And for whatever reason, those guys they have a record number of like tying each other or coming within 1/5 of each other.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So, those pair of horses have been pretty valuable for them 2 buddy teams.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough to beat buddy team, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Alrighty, well, good luck. Drive safely. Last but absolutely not least, reigning world champion Wesley Thorp definitely wanted to have his say when it came to who deserves to be the AQHA PRCA Heel Horse of the Year. I kind of know what you're going to say, but I figured I wanted to make sure I got it on the record with you saying it. So, what are you thinking?
Okay.
What horse is your pick?
Heel horses?
Yes, sir.
I think the first option's easy.
Yep.
We got Turbo for number 1.
What's Turbo? I mean, obviously Turbo's been number 1 the last 2 years, but like, what does Turbo do so well?
He's really smooth, so he can. He's just everything he does. He doesn't make any moves throughout the run in the corner across the arena. He doesn't do anything to throw you off. So everything's moving forward and really smooth. But he's super athletic, so he can pull himself away from the steer too. So like if
if the momentum changes or stops, he can create separation without changing the momentum of the run, if that makes sense. So he can collect himself and let you throw at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just always ready for you to throw, but he never takes it away from you.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of a freak in that department. He's like very forgiving, but he's also can be about as extreme as he needs to be as far as finishing the run.
Got it. Well, who are you thinking is second or third in the running?
Man, I don't even know as far as second and third. Honestly, no. I mean, nothing stands out to me that much as far as over the other ones, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I may be a little bit stuck on that one.
That's all right.
I don't even know. He might should just win all 3 holes. Call it a day.
That's crazy though, because like when I think of the last time a horse won this much, it was like Diesel, and Diesel with the one horse of the year this many times, and Diesel was like kind of iconic and intense and like so famous, and Turbo's just kind of like, oh, that's Turbo. Like I don't know, like he's just kind of a good horse. I don't know, just different vibes.
You know, I think one thing about Turbo is, you know, Rooster, he was riding Rooster for several years, and, you know, you didn't get to see him as much in his 9, 10, 11-year-old year. Then now you do, and Patrick doesn't go to more than 3 or 4 jackpots a year, so you're not getting to see him. I mean, you're getting to see him at the BFI, Lone Star Shootout, and NFR, you know, as far as a big spotlight goes. So it's just hard. It's harder. You know, you're not seeing him. I feel like Diesel was ridden at, you know, all the major jackpots throughout the year, Hort Dog, all the DVDs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking Hort Dog too. Yeah, so many runs off of him at the Hort Dog.
Just so many runs.
Yeah.
And I feel like Turbo's a little bit more not seen as much at the jackpot. So it's I don't know, but I think, and he's 14, so I mean he's one of those, he might have I don't think he's on his last year, you know, has a couple more years in him, and over time, you know, he might be a kind of a household name like Diesel. But yeah, I think he's just about as good as any of them that have ever been through it.
Yep. Well, thank you, sir. All right, that is a wrap on our Horse of the Year episode. Hopefully we learn who is the Horse of the Year pretty soon, and you can see if we were right. All right, thanks everybody. We'll talk at you soon.